Hey friends, welcome back. It has already been an insanely busy day and it's like 6:30 and I still have a couple things that I need to get done today and I thought it would be fun to bring you along. The first thing I want to do is I want to get a couple of different plants in the ground. I have a couple holes in my dining room border that I just want to fill, and so I'm going to show you what I'm putting in. So the first plant I'm going to add to my border is something that is like classic English cottage garden. It's fluffy, it's unassuming, it does very well in a soil that is poor in nutrition. And as you know, this is a sand pit. So it is golden feverfew. Now, this is one that is a little bit unassuming. It's not something you would normally gravitate towards when doing a design. But what I love about this is I love this beautiful chartreuse green foliage. I love that I'm adding a really different texture to my palette. And this bright little pop, I'm going to do 2 swaths of it. And I'm just going to kind of see how I like it. And this is a garden. This is a working garden. And if I don't feel like it's matching the vibe, I have no problem pulling it up, transplanting it, putting it somewhere else. I also love that this is a medicinal herb. Now, I'm not necessarily going to grow this for medicinal purposes, but I like to have herbs that carry that energy of healing in my garden. I don't even know if that makes sense. But I love that this is just a super old, lovely herb that has been used for a very, very long time. This next plant, I'm actually going to put to my left here in the very thin border that's on the back side of the boxwoods. This is Gara. Okay, I really love Gara. It is also called whirling butterflies. That's the common name, but I prefer the white variety. And I was able to find this new white variety. It is called So White Gara. There we go, right there. And it's doing a lot of things that I really love. She is attracting bees, hummingbirds, butterflies. It's deer resistant, which means that it may be rabbit resistant, which you know is an issue for me. To test the waters, I had 3 of these that I had purchased for containers and I ended up not using them. So what I did is I actually placed this on the ground. I placed this and the feverfew on the ground to see if the bunnies would go after it. They left it completely alone. So that is a fantastic kind of like clue them headed in the right direction. And the other thing I was going to mention about this is a full sun selection. It is also a drought tolerant selection. And the So White Gara, what is really interesting about this one is it doesn't really exceed about 18 inches in height and about 1 foot wide. And I am on a city lot, so space is something that I do need to consider. And it's just like the perfect size for this tiny little border of mine. All right, I also want to show you my ongoing design dilemma. Hold on. Okay, friends, I went out and I procured an arch. And listen, I'm not too proud to admit when I'm wrong, but I think I am wrong. Once I got this arch, and it's going to be a little hard to see on camera, but once I got this arch installed, and I did go with the 27-inch, it fits the interior of this bed perfectly. I just got it in and I was like, you know what? Something about it doesn't feel right. Brian and I talked about it. He was like, nope, it's definitely not the right move. But it's hard to put our finger on exactly what the right move is going to be because I actually don't think, we're going to be buying something off the shelf. So I'm left with a bit of a debate. I want to get things growing, but I also want it to be the right shape. And so I'm doing the toss up here. And I'm like, do I just keep it in the garden and I use it for this year and I enjoy it? And I just know deep in my gut that it's not the right choice for the future of this garden, but maybe I can repurpose it or maybe resell it on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist or what have you. Or do I return it? And do I go and talk with my metal worker? His name is Travis. I'll link the Iron Man video down below. His company is Iron Man Ornamental. He's designed some pieces for me for the Flower and Garden Show before. He did these like stair frames and these crazy awesome, like baluster things. I can't even remember what we called them. They were really awesome. They were tall and they were wrapped in vines. They were just like absolutely sensational. I'm thinking of maybe asking him if he can pull something together for me and have it echo our modern pergola that's on the other side. Because as much as I want to love this, at the end of the day, it's just not the right choice, you know? And when it's not right, it's not right. We got to move on. So there we are. There we have it. The latest and greatest in the arch saga. And yeah, I just think this garden is calling for something different. You got to listen to what your garden needs. You know, it's kind of like with our sandy soil. I can either fight it all day long or I can pivot and go with something that the garden actually calls for. So that is, I think, if we were going to give today a theme, it would be listen to your garden, see what it's asking for, and then go in that direction. So here we are in the southwest corner of the dining patio. And what you can see is I had a digiplexus planted right down here and it did not return this year. And so I am kind of substituting a couple different things. I also have this little spot here next to the salvia, which I'm kind of liking too. I tried both. But here's the scoop. Do you see how the shape of the salvia is mimicked by the shape of the gaura? That is not what I want to see in my garden. So do you remember my last video when I talked about how I had placed the geranium next to the limelight hydrangea, next to the lamb's ear? I was building texture upon texture upon texture. Same thing goes for shape. So right here, these are just like too dang close. So instead, what I've decided to do is I'm going to break it up. So check this out. Now, when I have that spiky element between my sedum and my lady's mantle, now it gets its own moment to shine. So I'm going to put one there, and I'm going to put one down here. So I'm repeating sedum, gaura, lady's mantle. And then actually what I think I'm going to do is I think I'm going to put one back here, kind of where that nice little weed is. Isn't that cute? Okay, the last thing on my list is that feverfew. And I am actually looking at this little pocket right here between my two dark sedums. And guys, I wish I remembered what that was, but I don't have the darndest clue. And then over here on the other side of that main post, I also have another space. And what's funny is I'm actually thinking of moving that sedum. It is like so buried and eaten by this lady's mantle, but I think I'm gonna wait to do that until next season. This pocket, it just is calling for something bright. And then of course down here, this pocket is also calling for something bright. So I'm gonna dig in and in goes the feverfew. Alrighty, so here we are in this little spot, and I wanted to talk about something. Oh my gosh, does anyone else have garden attention deficit disorder? I swear, every time I sit down, I see a weed, and then I start weeding automatically. Okay, so right here, I have 10 feverfew, and so I'm going to split them 5 here and 5 over here on the other side, but I don't want them, like we are not going to do this situation. Okay, let me give you 2 examples here, right? All right, that is very 3, 5. This is a totally decent pattern, right? It's fine. They'll kind of blend all together, but this is not what we're gonna do. What I'm actually gonna do here is I'm going to set this at a little bit of an angle like this. And that leaves me a teeny tiny pocket right here where I may put some lamb's ear or I may put some creeping thyme. You know, the other option that I could do is I could angle it the other direction, right? And then that gives me this sweet little pocket here to play with. Now, we can do one of two things. I can either mirror it so it angles out it this way like a V, angles out it the other way like a V, or I can have it angled towards the center. Now, originally I was thinking I wanted it angled towards the center, but I think this arrangement here is actually really, really lovely. And this ties in very closely, and I've got a lot of heightened contrast right here. The purple with the caradona, the purple of the sedum. I mean, can you just imagine some lamb's ear right here? I think that's gonna be stinking gorgeous. I think it's gonna be gorgeous. Okay, I'm gonna get to work. And by the way, I just have a bucket of compost because I purchased a giant bale of compost and I can't lift it. So I just go and I fill up my bucket and then I get to work. In case you're curious, I expect this feverfew to get at least this big. Sometimes it gets a little bit bigger and take up this whole area. And I prefer to plant in a style where my plants are commingling. So I like the idea that the feverfew might even grow up through this rose because I think it'll be really special to see them play with each other. And also, do you see how I'm using a very bright color underneath this like mid-tone leaf? And then I also like the fact that it might even act as a support to this gorgeous rose. This one is a rose. It's a David Austin called the Lady Gardener. And she is spectacular. Friends, here we are, another decision point. So what I've done here is I have placed everything kind of to the left a little bit. And the reason I've done that is because, let me show you, this combination of this dark sedum, the Salvia caradona, and this feverfew, that is, I mean, that is kind of singing my song right now. I'm actually really, really, really liking this combination here. And then with the lady's mantle, just kind of on the other side, and we have great variety of leaf texture. We have fuzzy, we have shiny, we have matte with real serrated edges. We've got lots of blades. So I feel like this is a lot of great texture, a lot of great visual interest. The thing that it doesn't do though is account for that hole right there. Okay, so when we were talking about this hole right over there, it now leaves me in a little bit of a decision point. I got to figure out what the heck I'm going to put in that situation. Now, maybe it's another Salvia caradona. Okay, that's a choice. It could also be agara. It could also be a grass. I have some really awesome Mexican feathergrass that is almost too big for its britches. That could go in there as well. Now, the other thing I am playing with here is this move. I have shifted my drift to the right. Now, the nice thing about this is it leaves me with a way less awkward opening, right? So I have little space here that I can play with ground cover. I could bring in woolly thyme. I could bring in Corsican mint. I could bring in, you name it, right? I'm filling this hole between the roses with the height of my feverfew. And then over here, I have another hole. However, I'm kind of thinking that maybe what I do over here, kind of in this area, and over there on that side for some continuity, is maybe I bring in some lamb's ear. I could bring in lamb's ear here. I could do a ground cover here. Then, if we go to the right, I could do another lamb's ear here, coming around the post. I could put in a little bit of ground cover down beneath the feverfew there, and then end with another little snippet of lamb's ear. And so that could bring some really good texture to the front of this border and really soften this edge. So I think I've made my decision. I think the feverfew is going here. Final answer. Okay, also, you guys, this rose was not blooming in my May garden tour, but this is Jude the Obscure. And this actually, if you were at the event in California, I handed out samples of tea blends that I have been working on. And this is the scent that is brought forth in my lavender rose blend. It is spectacular. I've decided I'm not done for the day. Okay, so this is lamb's ear, and I have a lot of it. And I think, gosh, I think I might transplant some. So this is the beautiful thing about having a lot of easily divisible items in your garden. So lamb's ear is one of those ones that is just super, super easy. So you can just kind of like chart a path through here. So do you see how I've done this? Lamb's ear forms like a really concise mat. And in fact, I did not clean this one out as well as I thought I did. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just chart a little path through my lamb's ear patch. And I am going to cut right down here, and we're going to see what we can transplant. And actually, you know what I might do? I'm going to get a shovel for this one, and I'm not going to use my hori-hori. Now, I'm a big fan of dividing your plants. It's great for the health of the plant, and essentially, this is a free plant. So I'm going to come on in here like this, and we're going to see what we can do here. All right. Okay, cool. And as you can see, basically the whole key to dividing is you just want to find a division point. And then look at that. Boom! Free plant, people. It's a free plant. And then you fluff her out, and look at that. You would have never known. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Okay, I'm going to show you it one more time. This is another chunk of lamb's ear that is super, super beefy. It's grown an insane amount in this first year. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you the same thing, right? What we're going to do is see how it's spilling over the edge? This is a really great division spot. So I'm going to dig on in here, and this is even bigger than the first patch. So let's kind of see what we want to do. So step one, chart your path, chart your division point. And I'd say, it's like, you know what it is? It's like parting your hair, or like parting your daughter's hair when you're going to like braid it into pigtails or something, right? So this one, check this out. This is a really great division point. And in fact, what I may end up doing is this one is so wide that I bet once I cut through here, I can actually break this in half again. I'm going to find another division point, and I can either go in with the saw blade on my hori-hori, or I can just simply hit it with my hammer one more time. And I will tell you this, I am a snob when it comes to my hammers, or when it comes to my shovels, I am a snob. I want a hardworking shovel that has really, really, really great spots for my foot to land. If at all possible, find a shovel like this. If you get one with like really, really tiny little spots right here, I've actually had my boots slip off this, ones that are really tiny, like that big, and I've nicked the back of my leg. And with my fair skin, it takes me forever to heal. So I prefer a very large target for my boot to hit, and these little grippies make sure I'm not slipping off. Okay, so I have my division point, setting it secure here. All right, here we go, friends. There we go, cut one. All right, we're gonna move over next here, overlapping where I anticipate my shovel going. You ready? All right, last one. And then I think this little nugget will be free. Here we go. And then I kind of go back and give it just a little bit of leverage because I want as many roots as possible. I don't want to tear this. Let's find that final, oh yeah, there she is. Okay, cool. And you can hear me hitting the gravel. This is the leftover pad from when we had the patio put in. Okay, and then like last time, ooh, check this out. It already has easily divided. Yeah, awesome. Yay, okay, check it out. And then we're gonna fluff her out. Boom. Free plant achieved. And that, my friends, is the beauty of being able to divide your plants and move them around your garden. Okay, you guys, I'm having a genius moment. I feel like I might tuck some ground cover in here and tuck a little ground cover in there, not the lamb's ear, but a ground cover to tie it to the ground cover that I'm going to plant along this border's edge. Man. Okay, now I got to choose a ground cover. That's a different video. No. Oh, not again. Oh, for Pete's sake. What on earth would I have done with that dang thing? Oh, there it is. And by the way, while I have this thing out of the ground, I'm going to take a minute just to give it a quick cleanup. So we're off to a good start. And this is what's awesome about lamb's ear is like it's just so easy to clean. You just pull off your leaves that aren't looking too hot and away you go. Okay, this looks so much better. I cannot even stand it. I am so just like chuffed with myself. I still have a couple ground covers to get in, and I'm actually really glad I did this project because I was feeling so disappointed about the arch. I thought it would look good. It doesn't look bad, but it's not the right design choice. And I think I have to stick to my guns, make the right choice, and I will wait and we will figure this out. But in the meantime, I want to show you the new improved border. Like I said, it's just every time I touch this dining room space, it starts to feel more and more settled and more like my home. Like I live here. Like this is the place where I belong, you know? So I'm gonna spin you around. All right, friends, we are gonna start behind our little trio of containers. There is the first Gara. You can see that little empty spot. That's where a ground cover is going to go. I ended up with that extra little clump of lamb's ear, so I placed it there right in front of our newly planted Gara. Again, in front of this sedum. I think this is where a ground cover is going to go. And this one, she's a little funky. So I left this out when I went to California, and it tipped over and started to grow for the sun again. And so anyways, she'll straighten out. I'm not worried. I'm thinking maybe on this corner, I might tuck a little ground cover. Here is the next lamb's ear and all of that awesome feverfew. I'm really excited about that. Oh, and I also thought I might put a little ground cover there, something that'll stay tiny and checked. I did add a lamb's ear in the middle of all of this frothy lady's mantle. I thought it just kind of broke up all of that greenery. And then back here, you can see I have another little spot for some ground cover. Nice little drift of feverfew, and then ended it with another chunk of lamb's ear that will kind of ramble on through this beautiful space. And definitely my inspiration here was something luscious, a little unstructured, a little unfussy. I wanted it to feel just a tiny bit wild, but also very, very floral and delicate. All right, friends, that's going to do it for me today. I am not even going to worry about watering these things in because there are massive gray clouds up ahead. I can actually feel the change in the weather. And I looked at my phone and we should have a deluge starting tonight. So these are going to get plenty watered. Thank you so much for coming along on another garden adventure with me as I develop these spaces around my home, both as a gardener and a designer, and the choices I'm making and dividing and moving plants and all that good stuff. I'm going to see you in the next one. And in the meantime, go say hello to your garden for me.